Where you want to teach at?
At my old high school, do you know where Maine South is?
Mm-hmm.
So I went there and I want to be the head coach there for soccer and so.
That's a good school.
Mm-hmm.
How's their soccer coach now? Is the
Well,
team doing
he's actually retiring this fall, so he has one more season. Problem is, we have a lot of talent, he just doesn't know how to coach right now.
Okay.
Because we have kids coming in from Norwich, some years of Miles. Just never seems to get them on.
Got a youth shop.
Yeah.
You involved with the soccer?
Yeah,
Okay.
I coach 3 teams on the side. I do purple team as well. So, and Parker's I'm building my own brand right now, stuff like that. So,
There's a good chance you could land a position.
it just all depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You know, they may want someone with more experience, but at the same time, they may want someone younger. So it just depends.
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm not trying to.
Yeah, man, that's all you can do. Don't get ahead of yourself, right? Don't think like, hey, I'm gonna go, we're gonna win. Nobody knows. Go and do the best that I know I can do. Right? And think of that allocation of resources and how to use them. This is what we're talking about a little bit up here, right? Like, hey, you got the talent,
Yeah.
but certain people don't know how to use the talent, right? Waste the talent. Who else? Prospects, jobs, grad school, anything coming up. Starting a business, got a new idea. What do we hope to make graduating in May? What do we hope to make starting out? And have we thought about that?
You mean like start today, like for a job? Or what do you-
Yeah, like getting out, graduating in May, like what are your thoughts on what is acceptable, what's not acceptable to you? Do you have a plan? Do you have a strategy as the leader of yourself? Yes.
So I kind of want to hear like your insight on this. So I was an intern at what now is my job about roughly a year ago, and the guy that works like football operations for the training facility, he's an older guy and doesn't bring much in for football. I mean, given our place specializes in like baseball and softball, but we still do a lot of football activities. I kind of want to see myself as head of football operations there, but as of now, all I do is like, I'll train like football skills camps every now and then, and like I kind of want to know like, how do I go about like, I mean, I told my boss that's my goal and everything, but like, how do I kind of,
Move up.
yeah.
I say implement some of the stuff we're learning now, like literally either having written down, PowerPoint, or just in your mind, but you gotta be able to explain this stuff very quickly, right? But any business plan, any plan in life, you're like, man, I got the greatest plans to make $1 billion. Great, okay, you're probably not the only person. You can't explain it in 2 minutes, nobody's listening. So what I'm saying is like, look at the operations of what's going on, and what you say the older guy is not doing, he's there like dead wood. Speak to the people besides him, of course, right? Because he doesn't want you to take his position, right? You're a threat. We talk about threats up here. But speak to the people that you know that where you can still keep your job, but still get the word out that, hey, I'm actually paying attention to what's going on. I know what's going on, and I know how to improve this, right? And keep doing that. Repetition, repetition. Remember, if we say you tell a lie enough times in psychology, people believe it, right? Politicians do it all the time. Say it enough, believe it. Stick to it. So just have your plan somewhere. You know, you could, as a business person, you could have it in an entire PowerPoint, right? And do a proposal. I think we do crappy here and how we can do much better, more efficient, right? How the leadership here stinks. And other than that, it's just here's the stuff that comes with experience, right? Because you can't teach experience, right? Like I could tell you about like, hey, what I went through, that's great, Professor Ross, but eventually you're gonna have to go through it, right? It's unfortunate because so many people apply for jobs coming out of college or even grad school. Dude, I applied for like 1,000 jobs. Nobody, you know, I our society, specifically in Chicago and surrounding areas, people typically hire people they know. Right? Somebody knew somebody who knew somebody. Versus the most genius, intelligent, enthusiastic, innovative person, right? Who you think should get the job. So that's unfortunate. So it really does, like, yeah, it's a little bit of luck, right? But it's a little bit of you too, your personality goes a long way. So it's not all just brains, like, hey, I'm the smartest person in class, I got all A's. Congrats, right? Most billionaires get C's, they didn't get A's. It's like A's were a waste of time, C's is good enough to pass, give me a C. Because I'll be making money with extra time versus people getting A's all the time. That could be a mindset. But the point is, you have to have a plan and a backup plan and a third plan. Like, okay, I'm gonna apply, may not get the job, what now? It's kind of like this whole what now theory, right? Yeah, you're maybe confident, like, this is gonna happen. What if you don't? So you can't always just think of like, man, this is gonna happen. Like, okay, if this don't happen, if this don't happen, then what? So you have to have backup plans, like an airplane, right? It's like redundancy they call. So the plane rarely ever crashes. Why? Because there's like 12 systems in case the engines go out, in case this and that, right? 12 backup plans. But it's a little bit of luck. It's a little bit of you, it's a little bit of personality. Personality goes a long way. Because honestly, even besides like people hiring people who they may know or somebody knows somebody in there, people hire people they like. So they either like you or they don't, you know? So you gotta go into with a just kick-ass mentality and bring your personality, right? It's not all about like, hey, how smart I am and all that. Because there's a lot of people who are smart. But your personality is you. That makes you, you. You know, that separates when we even talk about here, uniqueness, right? Your resources are unique. Because you're you, you're not him, you're not him, you're her. You're you, right? So what do you bring? And I think that's the biggest thing to focus on is simply that. Not imitating. Because we all try to imitate each other, right? Or look, it'd be like the guy on YouTube, or this guy, or Jordan Peterson, or whoever. You know, we just try to imitate people, but at the end of the day, if you're authentically yourself, there's a lot of value in that you may not realize it is, instead of pretending, trying to be someone else that you're not. Anything else? Random questions? Yeah, it's hard. You know, it's hard coming out college and trying to be good, unless you already got a job lined up or something, right? So it's hard trying to get that first job. Then you get it. You know, as a person who does analysis, it's kind of like, wow, you know, what are you making? Oh, man, they paid me 55, 60. If you write down the numbers, after taxes, after everything, health insurance, all that stuff, like, man, you really don't make that much. You know what I mean? Like, you have enough, you'll survive. You have an apartment or something. Money is not as much as you think it is. And if you're putting in a ton of hours, you really are like, you do the math again. Oh, they make you work 80 hours a week. You know, like, a person working at Starbucks is only working 30, you know. Actually, quality of life, work-life balance, might make more sense to not work so much, right? Yes.
So, this question pertains to finding employment after graduation. So, traditionally, May of every year is usually like when, you know, graduations happen and people try to go to workforce. There's also obviously graduations at the end of the fall semester. So the reason why I'm in this course as a junior is so I can get on the way, because if I cram more, like the maximum credits for next semester, I can graduate the semester early. So I'm not sure if you would know. Would you say it's easier or more difficult to find employment after, say, a fall graduation?
I mean, probably easier in the fall. Less people graduate, right? Everybody graduates. 90% graduate in May, And two, if you think of a business, businesses run on quarterly basis, right? So I say Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. They're always thinking ahead. So think about it. In December, they're looking for the next year for that plan, right? But in May, right, you're still in Q2, looking at Q3, it's too saturated. So it means it's too saturated of number of people applying for jobs, so now they can't really filter to figure out who's worthwhile, because you go on LinkedIn for a position and be like, oh, 10,001 people apply for this position, you know. Definitely when the numbers are low, I say you have a better chance. And the fact that the new year's rolling out, there's always potential for all new sorts of new things because of the new year, as opposed to almost right in the middle of the year, you know. So a lot of times I ever get things locked in, you know, locked in, like they don't want to hire anybody else, or only a few people that want to hire. And those are things too to consider, like if you do go on all of these sites or whatever, and pay attention to the number of people apply, therefore you don't waste your time, right? So you really gotta like pay attention. And literally focus on what you wanna do very, very specifically. If you're too broad applying for all types of jobs, your anxiety is gonna kick in, right? It's just too random. Let's say focus as hard as you can on being very, very specific. Obviously tailoring your resume and cover letter and all that, specific to that. And when you're doing resumes, companies are about action, right? What did you do? And you can put anything. Everything you've done is an action. You're like, I've increased whatever. Summer job, intern, working for your parents, a volunteer group, anything you've done, you go, I've increased X amount of this by 3%. That's the language they want to hear. They don't want to hear like, I'm a hard worker, or it's too generic, right? They don't want to hear this, like, man, what did you actually increase? What did you change? Show me in action what you changed on paper. So those are some of the takeaways. But you might get lucky, you know. Let's say you might get lucky, but communicate. For me, I got lucky half the time just by communicating. I don't communicate, nobody knows you can say this. I didn't know who are you. But I was communicating with so many people shooting emails, and of course a lot of them turned me down. You know, they didn't even respond. But the ones that did, it led to meeting and talking, engaging, and bring more people in, having conversations. And that's how it works, you know? And you land somewhere, that's where you land. And you don't feel bad about it, which we'll talk about even with this course. Because this course is your capstone, right? Isn't this the capstone course? You're like, why? Like, what's so special about this course? Sometimes that language seems dry, boring. Literally, this is like making you into a general, right? And it's not that complex. This is not finance, it's not accounting, where you be doing all this hard math, right? But this is literally creating a mindset to be a general. You're a general, you're going to war. How do you become a good general? A good leader. Can everybody be a general? No, they can't. They don't have the mindset. So it's creating a mindset, right? So to be a good business person or a leader, I would rather say, just a leader, making good decisions, you gotta be stoic. What does that mean? Like stoicism in philosophy. Yes?
Kind of like unfazed by what happens to you throughout the day.
Yeah, I mean, you could say you're kind of unfazed, right? You're not jolted like the average person. But why are you unfazed? What would be the reason why one would be stoic?
I'd say because you're in control of your emotions.
There you go, absolutely. You only focus on what you're in control of, right? You don't feel bad about being rejected by somebody. Why? You're not in control of somebody rejecting your resume. How are you in control? You're only in control of putting your best foot forward, and what happens, happens, right? You be satisfied with that. You keep doing that until you feel like you land where you want to land. Or you can have anxiety and complain about it all the time. You won't be stoic. right? But the point is, even when we become these CEOs, you made the decision, you live with it. That's it. There's no rewind button in life. You made the decision, live with it, put your best foot forward. And if it fails, guess what? What do? Do something else, try again. Right? But you only are using the resources with the information you have right now at the time you make the decision. That's it, that's all. That's the mindset. Not more so, I wish, idealistically, none of that, right? And that's why not everybody can do that. Everybody is a little bit wishful thinking and idealistic. And we should be. We all know where we kind of want to be, but we have to get there by being very realistic with what we got, right? And it doesn't mean like you gotta have a lot. The greatest person who does the most with the less. That's the truth, right? The worst person who has everything in the world and still do very little. So no matter where you graduate from, what year you're in, none of that stuff matters. The only thing that matters is you. Do you apply with what you have as your natural gifts and talent to maximize what we're talking about up here, to maximize your profit, your earnings, and where you're trying to go? So that's why I say, even in psychology, things are relatable. It's like corporations are made up of individuals, right? Government's not an invisible boogeyman. Government are a bunch of individuals making decisions. Corporations are a bunch of individuals making decisions. They're not like boogeyman, right? So in reality, they are us, right? We can apply it, we can understand it. It shouldn't be that difficult to understand. It's not that complex. If you make it complex, it'll be complex. If you keep it simple, it will be simple. All right, left off, any more questions? We left off at IO, right? Industrial Organizational Model, which basically say the major force in which creates a successful company is the outside forces. What's happening in the industry, what's happening in the market, and how we change to those forces, right? And then the other flip side was the resource base, like, hey, we may not need to change those forces because we have good resources here, right? Our model is to stick with what we got, the intelligent people, the amount of money we got, the machinery, the product, et cetera, et cetera. Two different approaches, but here we're talking about IO. Economies of scale, what does that mean? What does that mean? Give me an example.
Is it like macro and microeconomics?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of it, but kind of like, what does it entail? Economies of scale.
It will refer probably to like the economy and Richard Barnum.
Yeah.
More specific area.
Yeah, but just literally think of like, a lot of times with words, literally the meaning and the hidden definitions in the words, right? So look at the words. It's about scaling, right? So basically say who makes the most of something will inevitably make the most revenue, right? Make a gazillion candy bars, probably can get rid of a billion, right? Therefore you have a ton of revenue. You don't make that much because you're too differentiated, it's too unique, blah, 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 blah. You're not scaling, right? You're about like making real unique, intricate things. Other people are like, no, I just want to make the simplest thing, but a gazillion of them, like Hershey Snickers. Right, so that's economy of scale, broad scale, right? Whoever makes the most of something and find it the easiest way to make it, kind of wins. Think of Coca-Cola, right? It's not that complicated to make Coke. Barriers to market entry, what are those? Like, give me an example to some barriers.
Finding someone to loan you money.
Yeah, I mean, it could be loan the money, but kind of really depends on like, hey, I got an idea. But my idea requires a lot of money, right? Above average money. I want to be the next Elon and make electric vehicles versus I want to open up a lemonade stand. Which one has a higher barrier to entry? Electric car, right? You're gonna need a couple $1 billion loan to you versus, you know, $3,000, right? Or so it could be capital. You're like, well, capital, money is a barrier. That's why certain companies who aren't way at the top, the monopolies, it's too hard to compete just because of the amount of money it takes to even start doing what they do, you know? So it's hard to even start trying to compete in certain industries. Restaurant is very low, that's why everybody can just open up a restaurant, you know, open up a hot dog stand. Or it could be technology, but well, technology is too intricate. The people we need too many engineers, we need too many smart, well-paid individuals, right? So it could be a lot of barriers. Just think of anything that makes something extremely difficult versus your competition. Diversification is very important. Diversifying the type of people that work in your job, which creates a good culture. Diversifying technology, all the different things you can think of. You diversify. Product differentiation. Yes, you wanna, if you're competing, you're in the same market, you make kind of the same similar things, but they're just different. Right? You make your own little spin, you only need to use different colors, different logos, all of those things. And then how concentrated firms in the industry. Think of just yourself, like, is the field you're trying to go in, is it too saturated, or is it highly specialized? Is it highly customized? You know, you might be trying to go into a field where it's just too many people trying to do the same stuff. And then market frictions, right? Just basically issues within the market where people overlap, there's too much hyper competition, there's too much friction going on. So once again, IO is affected by external environment as opposed to unique resources. Assumptions, right? We always gotta make assumptions about anything. And that's why questions matter. Questions are valid assumptions, right? Ask a question, right? You don't know, we only can assume. I can only assume. Here, companies assume that external environment imposes pressures and constraints to determine strategies that will result in superior returns, what we talked about, right? Instead of putting your money here, you put it somewhere else. But these returns are not satisfactory, right? Competition, competing within industry or within a segment of that industry are assumed to control similar strategically relevant resources. All of this, you kind of went over all this assumption. Anyone ever heard of Porter's 5 Forces before? In any of your marketing classes or anything? No 5 Forces model? Setting out for marketing, we also have them here for leadership too, right? 4 or 5 forces of this model suggest that an industry's profitability is a function of interactions among suppliers, right? Can you negotiate? Can the suppliers negotiate with you for the things that they supply you with? Buyers. Are your buyers willing to negotiate? Negotiate just means are they willing to accept a lower price? Are they willing to accept a more expensive product? Are they willing to accept a less quality product? Competitive rivalry, you know, how much rivalry you have. Substitutes. Hey, you could go online and go on AliExpress and eBay and find substitutes for a generic brand of anything you want. You go on Jewel, you can either buy the Kellogg cereal or you can buy some other generic cereal, right? You pick. But then that value comes in, right? You may say like, no, the generic brand tastes like crap. And potential entrance to the industry. If it's an easy one to enter, it's gonna be too saturated eventually, and eventually your revenue will go down, your profitability. And this one's kinda hard to see. Have you guys ever see this? Alright, so how we get here? Study external environment. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna study and analyze the external environment. Want to locate an industry with high potential for above average returns. Want to identify the strategy called for. Right? What's your strategy? Right? Develop or acquire assets and skill needed to implement the strategy. What kind of people you need, what kind of resources you need to do it. And use the firm's strengths to develop or acquire assets and skills to implement strategy. Excellent, basically. Then we got the resource-based model, right, which is basically uniqueness of resources and capabilities to get superior returns. Here are some resources, right? Capital equipment, skills of individual employees, patents, right? People can't steal them, finances, time and management, physical capital, human capital. Now, name some companies you could think of where, say, human capital is extremely important. What are some companies you could think of?
Movie industry.
Which one?
Movie industry.
Movie? Yeah, right. Talent counts. Not everybody can act, right? Not everybody can produce. Extremely difficult things to do. Not everybody can direct. Right? You get people lighting. All those things are very, very talent based, right? Very specific. We all can't be actors. What else?
The construction industry.
Yeah, absolutely. You're building skyscrapers. You don't have the correct engineers, the correct equipment, right? You can't build a faulty building, lawsuits, people's lives at risk, right? So you need human capital, extremely important. You need people in the union, people in the trades, people who've been doing it for a long time, they're certified, they're licensed to cut the wood, cut the metal, rivet the metal, all this stuff, right? You can't just get anybody off the street. What else? What's some big companies we can think of? We're talking mother class. Who works? Anybody work at Amazon or worked at Amazon? Okay, maybe mother class. Amazon, right? They have a lot of people working those distribution centers, like working all night, 24 hours, no bathroom break, well, barely in the bathroom breaks, right? A lot. So they need all of that in order to get your Amazon packages on time, all the time. Right? So human capital is important. And you can think of any tech company. Right? You work at Google, Mountain View, California, or Facebook, or Apple. You're going to be highly specialized in whatever technological field you're in. So you're a really smart person in that particular field. Physical capital. Do you think of some companies where like actual physical things they have are extremely important to a success?
Well, like any car manufacturer, their factories, overall loss of years.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Manufacturing, right? Manufacturing is the main part of the job. The secondary part, I guess, is sales, right? The main part is creating a device. Tesla, GM, Ford, Honda, Toyota, et cetera, right? Organizational capital. Like just the organization, how it's organized, the structure, leadership. What are some companies like that? What do we think? Think anything? I mean, it could pretty much be any industry, right? It'd be non-for-profits, right? How well you organize in order to solicit donations from people, right? A lot of investment companies, finance companies, how well you're organized, right? To delegate tasks to get certain investments done properly and to manage and look at the legal aspects of things like that, lawyers, that. Resources have a greater likelihood of being a competitive advantage when integrated to form a capability. Here before we talked about core competencies where you do well first, capabilities just your capacity. And here we got resources, capability, competitive advantage, attractive industry, strategy formulation, implementation, superior returns. This is the resource-based supply. We talked about vision and mission before, right? Vision is basically idealistic, long-term, right? What you wanna be. Mission is what you're actually gonna provide to your customers, a value. We just talked about an effective mission and how it works. We get it. Stakeholders, did we cover stakeholders last class?
I think so.
Anybody who has an interest. All right, firms can separate the parties involved with their operations into at least three groups: capital markets, product markets, stakeholders, organizational stakeholders. What would an example of this be? Capital markets stakeholders, what does that mean? An example. Remember, anything dealing with capital is really just money.
I was gonna say, does that include the shareholders that account?
Yeah, right, the shareholders make money. Make money off the business, off its operations, goes up, goes down. So they're capital market stakeholders. They may not be product market stakeholders or organizational, or they could be. Right? Product market stakeholders are people who are concerned about the product itself. Right, and it could be, there's different roles and jobs. You can work in marketing, so you can look at the branding. You can create the different labels, the colors, all these different things. Those are the stakeholders who look at the product. And organizational stakeholders are basically employees, managers, executives, things like that. Here they put capital market shoes, they put banks, right? So banks, they supply you the money, so they definitely have a stake in how well you're gonna perform in terms of capital. Product market shareholders are primary customers, suppliers, host communities, and unions. Anybody work or part of a union? Okay. We'll talk about unions. An organizational employees, managers, non-managers. Skip this stuff. All right, so here's what you guys are learning to be: strategic leaders. People located in different areas, levels of the firm, using the strategic management process to select actions to help the firm achieve its vision and its mission, right? So you're gonna need to be decisive, committed to nurturing those around them, right? Being able to educate, and committed to helping the firm create value for all stakeholder groups. Remember what I said before, it's a mindset. Can you make a decision and can you live with it? Not all people are able to do that, hence why not all people are managers or leaders. Can you nurture people? Can you motivate people to be the best form of person they could be? Can you motivate people to use their talent to their maximum effect, right? We talked about even sports. Can you use the talent? Can you motivate them? Can you make them see how talented they are? What's your process in doing that? You know, you gotta have a strategy for that too. Motivate people. Think of this. When you're going out and you guys are looking for jobs, how the organizations motivate you, they'll say, hey, give you a really cool title. Get your business cards with your cool title. And tell everybody about it, put it on LinkedIn. Make sure you tell everybody about it. Right? And even if you're a janitor, say you're just a janitor, what title are they gonna give you to motivate you? Wait, you're not a janitor. You're the facilities man. This this is all part of how it all works, right? So as a leader, you also are part of that too. You know that some titles are very, very important to people because it makes them feel the way. And so you want to have, you know, there's certain unique titles only for certain organizations, right? But that's all part of it. And so even, you know, when you do think about this, when you're going for your jobs, okay, you got the job and they give you the title. Now they want to give you a new title. And they say, oh, they give you a raise too, it's only 30 cents. Right? There's a play on psychology, you might take the 30 cent raise, but it may come with a crap load of like ridiculous work. Guess why you didn't do it? Because of the title. I gotta get a new title. Right? I'm not a janitor or facilities manager. An executive business, blah, blah, blah. Does it work? Yes. Right? You're gonna motivate people to wanna keep the job because it makes them feel good. But this is also knowledge for you to also have too, so you can kind of filter through the BS. And they're like, all right, I see what you're doing, right? So you gotta learn how to nurture people around yourself. Therefore, it's either with titles or it's actually pumping them up, motivating them, seminars, training, all these different methods. And committed to helping the firm create value for all stakeholder groups. That's gonna be your primary role. General CEOs are responsible for making certain that the firms use strategic management process. And the most effective CEOs, top-level managers, understand how to delegate strategic responsibilities to help throughout the firm. Any questions so far? Who wants to be a CEO in the future? Come on, don't be shy. If you guys want to start your own, I know you want to start your own business, right? You have to be CEO. Yeah, this stuff is not easy. You know, as a person who's done all this business stuff, if you start your own business, it's even harder because you do have to make hard decisions that can affect people even really closely. You know, eventually, if you love the people who work for you, you care about them, it's hard to make certain decisions about letting people go, firing people, things that just change. So it does impact your life, and it's not for everybody, so it does require like a certain change in your mentality. But it's still awesome. I mean, you're still, you know, your own boss. So it's working. Organizational culture, this is a big one. This affects strategic leaders in their work. Think Google. Anybody ever been inside like a Google facility or headquarters or Facebook or any of these like new marketing companies, right? You see how much they have to offer, right? They might have a bar. Oh, they got all. Remember Google? I think they still have all you can eat. You know, go eat for free all day at the job. They got a yoga class, a yoga room over here. They got it. Why do they have all that? What's the point? It costs a lot of money to keep. What's the point of all of that? Yeah, attract the best people, but to make people feel good about working there, right? You're almost making it feel like home. You're like, oh, I work out at my job, I don't go to export, right? So they're kind of like making your entire life part of the company, like how you work out, how you stay healthy, you know, diet and nutrition, all of this thing. We're doing that to create a culture there so that you stay. You're motivated, now you got better employees. They're way more loyal, they're not going anywhere. That's too much cool stuff to have, to give away to another company. So a complex of ideologies, so you hear, you know, certain mantras and ideologies about what the company is, what it's about. Symbols, right? Logos, colors, all that stuff matters. Core values. And it's all influence how the firm conducts its business. So culture of a job is very important because you can get a good job, a lot of good money, but the culture stinks. Probably won't be there very long. People are not that great. right? So it's the social energy, which is big. We all socialize people that drives or fail to drive the organization. So it's a challenge to keep people, right? At some jobs, you could be like, oh, you guys have a high turnover rate. Like there's people coming and going to this job every couple months. Why would you want to work there? You know, you'll probably not end up working there too long neither, right? Culture stinks. But if you know all of this stuff, you can spot it really quick, and you can see the symbology here, the ideology of what they talk about, how the manager talks like that. Very important stuff, right? There's all the social energy. We all are very, very highly social. Because typically where we work is like 70% of our life. You know, people even talk about having work husbands and work wives and stuff like that, right? So yeah, social energy. What time is it? 40. Okay. Any questions so far? All right, prereqs to success as a strategic leader, hard work, of course, right? Thorough analysis, that's the big one. Can you be brutally honest? Can you guys be brutally honest? Think you can pull it off? Really? What is the acronym? So pull out some paper, we're gonna have an exam real quick. Just kidding. Right. Point is, did you get stressed out in less than 3 seconds? It's like, what the heck? Right? This is expect the unexpected at all times, right? When we say militaristic. In the military, they got something called VUCA. Volatile, uncertainty, complex, and anonymous, ambiguity, right? Which means that as a leader of an organization, any organization, you have to always expect chaos. So how you're gonna reply to the chaos and respond to it makes the personality for good leaders or not. Now towards week 3 or 4, we're gonna have, I'll send out the links, but you guys are gonna take that Peregrine exam, right? And it's basically to sum up everything you learned throughout the business program. See, almost like your learning assessment, right? How to assess, what you've learned thus far. And it may show some things about personality types within it, right? Are you strong-minded? Are you very honest? Are you clear? Are you concise? Are you introvert? Are you extrovert? Right? Are you uncomfortable all the time in uncomfortable situations? Or do you care less because you actually like to solve problems and you like being uncomfortable? Because you may look at uncomfortability as growth. You may look at being too comfortable as stagnant, right? That you actually don't grow. So with that being said, it's looking at everything in life almost as a challenge, that needs to be conquered. Everything in life, all the bad, like it's supposed to happen. This is fate. It's bad, it happens, it's supposed to happen. How do I solve it? Right? Wanting to firmness people to achieve success, so not being too arrogant, just wanting your success. And tenacity, having like the energy, fervent motivation. You must have a strong orientation for embracing change. Are you open to change? Do you not like change? Be innovative. Are you very creative in your thinking? Or you stall a lot? Promote innovation and have a global mindset. That's it. Okay. Questions? We think we could be good leaders? You think you could be a good politician? Run for office? No? Those are the people with the most power. And they're great, like, great leaders. Remember I said it requires, if you do change your mind frame, eventually you do change brain chemistry too. So think about it when I said before about, hey, most CEOs, politicians, even military people are sociopaths, but they could be functional sociopaths because it's needed for the job, right? You can't really be too emotional about every bad news you hear. If you're emotional about every bad news you hear, you're probably not the person for the job, right? So I mean, it's always bad news, and that's why you get paid the big bucks, is to work under a lot of pressure. So if you're not good with handling pressure, you're probably not going to be a CEO or VP or anything like that too. It's not for everyone. Yeah, so we'll have that Peregrine exam. I'll send that out. Probably over the weekend. I'll send that out to you guys. I think you have until like week 3 or 4 to finish it. They say it takes about 3 hours worth of study for it. That's completely up to you, however long you want to study for it. But it is an assessment for the business school. What else before we go? Questions? Questions about anything? Career advice, life experience, random questions? Nothing?
You're gonna send out quiz 1, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna send out quiz 1 probably tonight. So you'll have until like Sunday night at midnight to complete. And it won't be long. I wouldn't stress too much about it. Then I have to go on Blackboard and revise a lot of the dates, because when they set up the class, a lot of times it doesn't correlate to the syllabus. Just stick with the syllabus. Just stick with anything, stick with the syllabus. We're gonna end up doing like a simulation for the class, right? Where you can tweak things, move things around. We'll talk more about that next week. Yeah, the class should get more fun as time goes on because we'll start thinking about real businesses. And hopefully the class helps you create your own business, right? From start to finish. You can always ask me random questions about starting your business, like what it requires to actually do it, how to source money and things like that. And maybe at the end of the semester or something, see if I have any job opportunities or something, whatever, my business or foundation or something. All right, I'm not gonna hold you guys up. You have a great weekend. No class Monday.